We'll call the meeting to order. The vision of the Village of Valemount is striving for a vibrant and balanced community. And it's our mission to serve the community and embrace opportunity. So, adoption of the agenda, if everybody can wheel through that. Were there any additions? No? Okay, good. Councillor Latimer and Councillor Salt, all in favor? Great. Moving along, we'll take a look at the previous minutes, page 6 through 13. Any additions, deletions, present, not present? Let's motion to accept. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, all in favor? Good. Okay. So we're moving along to correspondence for action. We have a rather substantial letter from Valemount Community Television regarding the recording of the regular council meetings. So the staff recommendation here is that council consider the VCTV proposal as part of the 2014 budget considerations. Does anybody want to go on this, or I'll jump in first? I'd like to see how we could accommodate the station. I realize we are putting our face forward, but we also have a lot of competing interests. I think the audio levels is one thing that we really need to be cognizant of, and I mean, I think that's a service to the community. That's important. Not to say that the lighting isn't important, and it's nice to have good lighting, but I think there's a couple things that we can do to try to make that better, just using what we have, and start with that. And maybe this is something we could begin to address by sort of incremental improvements. I had a discussion with Mr. Peters about disengaging these two lights just by taking the bulbs out, and putting slightly higher wattage CFLs in these ones and whatever. Anyways, there's just some stuff we can do to make it look better, and we'll still have enough light to work and everything. But as far as the grid and everything like that, we can let VCTV go through and get its new grid and see how that works, and see how cheaply they can do it, and then we can consider if it's something we'd ever want to consider. So that's just my feeling, is just to try to meet some of these concerns without having a big budget impact. And so one idea I had for that is, I know the regional district of Fraser Fort George is retooling their whole network down there, and I would like to at least have the opportunity to inquire with them whether they're going to sell their current microphones and everything as surplus, and just talk to their tech guy to say if, like, currently I think they have about 20 microphones in that big room there, and I'm sure, I believe we could get away with 8 that were in good condition with a couple spares, just to sort of meet that, let's have better audio and project it into the audience. But there's one piece of equipment that I think Mr. Peters found that would really help is sort of just an intelligent mixer is what it's called, where it keys you up when you talk, but it's not on otherwise, and it just keeps the ambient hiss right down and whatever. And it's about $1,500. So my thing is that goes a little bit of the way, that thing, and then try to see what we can do for refurbished mics from the regional district, etc. My thinking on that. I really appreciate his concerns. I really appreciate the quality of the TV station has improved so much since the last operator of the TV station was, it wasn't very good. But now things are improving substantially. So it was me, by the way. I was the last guy.
This equipment is.
I'm concerned about the fact that it's not in the budget. I wonder if there's grant opportunity to look into for funding these sort of things. I'm curious whether this mixer you talk about is beneficial to VCTV, and whether or not it's something that is purchasable through them that they would be able to take for other installations. I really appreciate the detailed letter from Gord, and I think it's an excellent reference point. I don't know about the fact that it's not in the budget this year, and hoping that we can all talk louder for a while until we can figure out where the funding's going to come in order to cover some of these expenses. It's my feelings.
I also appreciate and I mean, I think I agree with you about the 2014. I appreciate the staff consideration of saying, let's consider this in 2014, because we may need to buy them a new camera too. The real consideration, when we're looking at bylaw officer or all of these things, when we're looking at our budget, that's the real time where we can really weigh everything against each other, where it's in the ballpark or it's out of the ballpark. So I think it's fairest to leave it for proper budget considerations in 2014. So I think we're in agreement there. Any other comments or? So I don't think we need to move to include it, but I guess, I actually think the phrasing here works really well. Just that council consider the VCTV proposal as part of the 2014 considerations.
Yes.
Budget considerations. That's fine. We'll just think about it when we get there. And in the meantime, we'll work with Public Works just to get this a little bit better lit and do what we can.
And if the regional district wants to give us free things, that's great.
Okay, very good. I'll work on that.
Good.
Okay. So Dallas made the motion. Councillor Salt, all in favor? Okay, great. Moving on. Cutaback Holdings Limited, 17th Avenue zoning amendment. There's a recommendation from staff that council directs staff to, their recommendation is that we direct staff to bring forward a recommendation on the 17th Avenue zoning amendment for the August 13th regular council meeting. And I guess I'll just ask staff, it's just like the idea is come up with a little bit more time to look at this and, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah,
That's it, obviously in the regional district? Wow.
But
So-
adjacent to village property.
Right, and that's right beside where Silvio Gilsombardi lives, correct? Okay,
that's true, yeah.
thank you.
I think it's worth pointing out, I was surprised to see this and kind of made hopeful by it. I'll just say it's nice to see local families considering making an investment in this sort of thing. And I think if you know that location, it's beautiful. It's probably not to bias staff in our recommendation or whatever, but if you're going to have a little place, to show off with 10 cabins or whatever, that would be a really remarkable place to do it. Especially if they're small and they don't stand out the whole marsh, if they sort of blend in, it'd be awesome. But let's just give that to staff, and they'll come back with what we should, or what they think about it. So Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Okay. There's an advertising request from MAD. The village is, so I guess this is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And we'll just start with the staff recommendation that the village does not place an advertisement in the MAD message yearbook, as budget considerations do not provide for non-required advertising. It's kind of a no-brainer, I think. Councillor Latimer, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Yeah. And you guys know, just shout out if we go too fast. Oh, here's a good one. Sensible Change Society, Sensible Policing Act. Very interesting. The staff recommendation is for us to consider whether to pass a resolution in support of the Sensible Policing Act. Let's have a conversation about this. What's your wish, Council?
Was it brought to UBCM last year, or it's going to be brought to UBCM this year?
That was at NCLGA.
Okay.
Is that where we went to the?
UBCM.
Was it a UBCM? I'm sorry. Sandy and I attended the forum on that.
Right.
And and I did that report
Yes.
for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, a motion was endorsed to support the decriminalization and legalization of marijuana at UBCM, but there wasn't anything put forward that I recall about supporting this Sensible Policing Act, which then would, I guess, take what was passed at UBCM and take it that step further to encourage the province to work towards that.
It seems really well written. I kind of went online to sort of cheat a little bit and see what other people were saying about it, but I didn't get a great deal. I mean, I heard a lot from Sensible, the people behind this. It sounds really smart to me. And I think it's good to follow up with our I mean, what the large consensus at UBCM was. We have a problem here. We waste a ton of resources and we should fix it. And what's so interesting is that this one actually, so they've got, we can put a motion in support of this, but they've already gone so far as to, if they get the signatures that they need for this, it will go on the next referendum. They will have hold a referendum for this. So that's extraordinary. So it'll forget all councillors and mayors and everybody who are typically, I'd say, fairly conservative on that line, although they've got a good understanding of the issues. Take it out to the public. I think this is going to be a no-brainer in this province, is my sense. But I guess it's up to us if we want to. What's your feeling? Should we pass a resolution in support of the Sensible Policing Act?
Yeah, I would
I
make a motion.
just have a question or a comment. Can we speak to our local RCMP detachment and maybe just get a little bit of their knowledge on and comments, just to envelop them into this community as well? I mean, they're a big part of it, of this. Can we do that before we pass a resolution?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
We have time, I guess.
Can I ask Councillor Latimer, did you mean council would speak to the RCMP or staff would?
Our staff could come back with maybe the recommendations.
Yeah.
Because at that forum, there was quite a few current and ex-RCMP officers that were in favor, and there was a very few that were not in favor of passing the decriminalization.
I mean, I'll just comment on that. I don't want to delegate I don't want to say like whatever they say.
No,
I,
of course,
but
just to
let's hear what they have to say.
right.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so the motion is pretty clear from Councillor Latimer. Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just we're just talking to him. And then seconder in favor of that, Councillor Bullock. All in favor? Right. Okay, moving on to the reading file. I just have if you don't mind, I'll just pull up a question first. In the Tourism Valemount minutes, I just noticed that, Councillor Latimer, were you elected chair just for the meeting, or are you the new chair of Tourism
No, I'm
Valemount?
not the new chair.
Okay, so just for that meeting,
For the
you
last
appointed chair each meeting. I see.
last meetings. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else you guys wanted to pull
Yes.
and talk about? Yep.
You and I are probably on the same
Are
page.
you, the Valemount debris management.
Oh, no, I'm on the Green Communities Committee. I'm really excited to hear that Valemount, as a charter signatory to the Climate Action Charter, is receiving level 2 recognition on from the Green Communities Committee, and it will allow us. They're going to provide us with the Green Communities branding logo to use on our website and letterheads, etc. So I think that's demonstrating that we are working towards our carbon neutral goals, and now I guess we just need to work towards level 3, and that is achieving carbon neutrality. So, but at least we've reached level 2, so that's, I think, good news for us.
Right on. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to pull up the debris management committee from BC Hydro. They say that there's $400,000 available in this year's debris management budget for Kinbasket Lake, And I'm learning lots about boomsticks and how they actually dredge the top of the lake to be able to collect some of that wood, so it's safer boating in Basket Lake, which I think is great because they don't do that every year.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Just one question though that had me a little puzzled is there were 2 items on there that were dated back in October of 2012 that were news releases from Jobs, Ministry of Jobs, Tourism, Skills. Do we know what happened, why those just have arrived? The small wood license project and the touring the backcountry?
I know. Yeah, because basically we had a letter from Allison Coyne providing background on McBride to Barrier Economic Development Project. I'm not sure that's what it's called exactly, but it's the McBride to Barrier Corridor Project. And so she was just reviewing some of the actual wins that they had. And one of the things that came up in one of those meetings was the touring the backcountry, the Trophy Mountain Road was identified. And then another one was the small wood license projects. So it's just sort of a review. I think the context is there. I think we're sort of just missing that wider context. Is that correct? Am I nailing that in the mind?
Just getting some updates on that.
Yeah. It's just sort of now we're at this point so far along the process, what has actually happened in that? And so I think government's just sort of saying like, look, we've actually worked on this and these are the things that we've done. But they were also sent out back in the day, so.
Okay.
Just supporting documentation.
Okay. Great. So motion to receive. Councillor, everyone. All in favor? Good. Sorry. It's very important to do this right. Okay, Economic Development Support Initiatives 53 to 57, Administrator Report. That council approves staff to apply for the Northern Development Initiative Trust Business Facade Improvement Program and approve that Valemount participates in the Small Town Love pilot project sponsored by NDIT.
This is great.
Yeah, no doubt.
Make a motion.
Councillor Latimer, Councillor Bullock, yeah, Councillor Blanchette, she seconded it. She was first. And anybody want to comment on these projects at all, or? I actually watched the video for Small Town Love, and I remember seeing this brochure in NCLGA, our first one, and there's this beautiful book about all of the small businesses in Quesnel. It was like so awesome, yeah. And so now we have an opportunity to do that same thing. In the meantime, we're getting a brewery on, and we got a little food truck, and we've got the Crafters Guild, and we got all people doing really cool things, so perfect timing. Okay, and we're all in favor of that? Good. Okay, land referral. I'm so happy to see this. Yora's Mountain Bicycle Trail System. So we want to refer the response sheet and make a recommendation to the Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resource Operations that there's no objection to approve the project. I think we should go further than that and say that we deeply support this project. And I would even want to say we really are encouraged by the way the proponents have been consulting stakeholders. This is a far cry from how the Mount Trudeau Trail was built, you know, at night by people. This is totally, everybody's doing exactly above the board. So, and consulting with First Nations, they have draft copies of the plans from way back when. And it's just the right way to do it, and it's greasing the wheels and making sure that everybody knows what's going on so nobody gets their back up. Awesome. So if we could give a sort of a ringing endorsement would be my motion. Councillor Latimer? All in favor? Okay. Just as a note, I did the Mount Trudeau Trail about 2 weeks ago, and as we were going up it, I remembered that I helped build part of it, like for a day, I just moved some logs around. They're still there, and they're still in a really crappy position. Okay, second quarter budget report. Moving on to the financials here. That council accepts the second quarterly budget report for information purposes only. Councillor Saul?
Second.
Councillor Latimer? Comments, concerns?
Nice to see we're on track
Yeah.
for the second quarter still, no
Yeah.
concerns.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Okay, all in favor? Okay, development variance 0413. It's an interesting one. Yeah, so I'll just go through the background that's provided here on the page. The signage for bed and breakfast is regulated by the village zoning bylaw and the village sign bylaw. The applicant, Ms. Springer, is seeking a development variance permit to allow 2 signs that are greater than the maximum allowable size. But I'll just say, sort of my consideration is, unlike something on a residential street, both where houses are more close together and the rate of speed that you travel is slow, it just seems like when you're on the highway and people are going 70 kilometers an hour, that may be that. But you know what, I want to pass it out to the rest of council and see what you guys think about it. That's just my early thoughts.
I was on that committee originally to put all of these regulations in place, and we had a bed and breakfast owner that was also on the committee.
Yeah.
And he had 2 signs on his property at that point, and because we were going through all this, I mean, and he talked to all the bed and breakfast owners, that he did take down one of them. So there are a few bed and breakfasts that are on the highway. So I think if we approve one, then I think that this whole sign and bylaw issue is gonna have to go back to the table. Because I think
Okay.
there's, that's my opinion. So,
Wow, I didn't realize, so he was also on the highway, this other
Yes.
B&B.
and
So
he's
we have
still
a
in
precedent
operation,
enforcing
yes.
this. So is that the 2 sign, was he also constrained by the size?
Size and the 2 signs, yes. So, and there are a few that are on the highway. I mean, I think one is in the regional district at this point, and I know that her sign is, it's off the highway, so it's not in your face kind of thing, so you really have to look at it. It's going more north. So that's just my opinion, that my opinion is that I would deny the application.
Well, it says right here, a maximum of 1 sign per lot advertising a B&B.
Right. I think we'd be opening up a whole new can of worms if we bent on this one.
Well, I hope we can encourage people to come and consult with us at the village before they spend the money to do these things for their property.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but I agree with Councillor Latimer.
Well, and it's always a thing that you let the horse out of the gate and then you wish that the horse was back in the gate, you know, just from an enforcement perspective and everything else. So if you start, yeah.
There are billboards available, and you can, as you're coming into town on either end, there are bed and breakfast billboards that people have, that owners of those businesses have put those billboards up and asked, you know, they pay yearly, I believe, to do that.
So they put the kilometers on there, so
Yeah.
go right and
So
so many
there's
kilometers.
another avenue for her to go, I think.
Right. Well, that's good to hear that it's not just a straight loss, maybe. Good, okay.
So I'll make a motion to deny the application.
Can we put in that she's told about the billboards on the highway? Just so she knows?
Kind of soften the blow a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to suggest, is that she inquire about placing those 2 oversized signs that she has outside the village boundaries in the regional district, north and south of town, and that way she gets it out there.
I'll just say a couple things on the record that I don't know, I really appreciate that eventually she consulted with the village, which is good. I mean, not in the beginning when it could have been, but sometimes, you know, you just don't think about these things. So I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate that they're well-designed signs and that she had a pro design them, and you can really see that, and that's really where we need people to go. So hopefully, if we can take away that message, is that, you know, it's mostly right, except for council, the precedent, you know, this is thought about long and hard, and there's a reason for this. And so maybe there's other accommodation that can be made, placing the signs outside of limits or further out. Yeah, not in town. Okay, all right, so the motion's on the floor, all in favor? Okay, that brings us to council reports.
I'll start.
All right.
So on the 11th, we had our bylaw adjudication review, and then we're humming along on that, let me tell you. We had, the same day, we had a library expansion meeting to get ready for the information night. Same day, I had a geocaching meeting. We were getting the final things put together. The 17th, Alberti came with his entourage, which was fantastic. It was a really positive meeting. Lots of people came. All of council was there. And I think that, I know talking to Silvio afterwards, they were really, really pumped, really excited. So that was great. The 17th, I had the last geocaching meeting where we all got our geocaches, and now I have no idea what to do with it. The 18th, we had another bylaw meeting. Braden is keeping us busy. And then on the 18th as well, we set up for our information night for the library expansion and the garbage. And then that night we had our info night, and it was really disappointing. We had 20 people show up in the entire night for the info. And a lot of work went into the library stuff. I'm sure a lot of stuff went into the garbage. We give everybody an opportunity to come and find out the information, and we had 20 out of our village. So that was very, very disappointing. But other than that, that's it. Yes, thunderstorms and stuff.
Summertime.
I'll go next. I attended the Valemount Glacier Destinations meeting as well, and again, over the top, and I saw them later on that evening, and they still had all of their prints out and their pictures and their big spreads, and I mean, they were talking about it till 9:30 that night, so.
Good.
Yeah, it was very exciting, but that's about all I've done.
On the 15th, I attended a community forest meeting. It's all public knowledge now, being that we've ran the ad for the replacement of Shane Brissett, who's moving on towards Prince George, and it's closed now for applications, and we will spend the next 2 weeks interviewing to find his replacement, which is really a shame because Shane Brissett is one of the most sparkling individuals I've ever sat with on a board, and he has done such an incredible job in managing and maintaining the community forest here in good standing. I'm hoping that he can leave us with a document of his practices that he set in place, because he's just done such a great job. On the 17th, again, I was with everyone for Alberti, and just to mention that the delegation that came with him were from France, from the Savoy region, and it was really interesting to get the European background of how they manage the ski resorts there as opposed to the North American style. And we definitely put forth a lot of questions about how does the cohesiveness of the community of the village versus the 6 kilometers away of ski resort. And of course financially it's set up totally different in France, but they gave us a lot of good pointers about just trying to stay on track with the developer and really just keep open communication of what our vision is in our village as well. And on the 18th, I visited the open house for the garbage in the library, and the library had all their great blueprints out, and it was awesome to see and be able to walk around and talk to you guys about it. And that's about that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Like Councillor Blanchette, on July 11th had another bylaw review committee meeting with our bylaw adjudication system, and Valemount Public Library building expansion committee meeting, like you said, preparing for the open house. July 16th, I had a Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association 2014 Annual General Meeting and Convention Planning Committee meeting with Loran Martin and our Economic Development Officer and myself. So we've done some more brainstorming and we've got some to-do items, and we'll be then proceeding with meeting with more members of the committee, which will be another staff member, and we are trying to secure somebody from the chamber as well to be like a liaison to that committee. So, and so we're coming along, and it should be an exciting time. There's going to be some new changes implemented into how the AGM and convention is done this time around in Valemount versus how it's been done in past years. So we're really excited about implementing some new things, and the executive of Trans-Canada Yellowhead Association are very supportive of it and behind it all too. So we're kind of being some leaders and making some changes, so that's great. July 17th, I also attended the Valemount Glacier Destinations Resort meeting, and I found it very exciting, and it was wonderful to have those representatives here from France and get, like Councillor Bullock said, get their views on North American ski resort developments versus how it's done in the European model. And sure would like to see if we could try and implement the European model here. It sounded really interesting. So it was an exciting meeting, and I was really glad to be a part of it. And we had a great turnout, and 5 reps, I think, from the Ski Society as well, and 3 representatives from the resort branch from that lands.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, so it was a really good turnout of some very important individuals there. Then on the 18th, another bylaw review committee meeting. Like Councillor Blanchette said, we're working very hard on the Schedule A of the it's Schedule A, the designated bylaw contraventions and corresponding penalties to bylaw 698, the bylaw notice enforcement and adjudication system, before bringing it back to council for 3rd reading. And I know last meeting I said we were hoping to have it on this one, but because we've really been trying to plug in a lot of work into that schedule before 3rd reading, we thought let's try and get as many of our bylaws on there before we bring it back for 3rd reading. So hopefully next meeting for 3rd reading. I also attended a Valemount Area Chamber of Commerce general meeting, and we had special guests, Valemount Community Forest, there providing us with a very informative and excellent presentation to everyone present. We told them that they need to provide the general public with this presentation as well. However, there were 2 reporters present at the meeting, so we thought, well, maybe there might be something in some upcoming editions of the newspapers, seeing that we did have a couple of reporters there. But like Councillor Bullock said, it's sad to see Shane leave. I'm sure they're going to find another very good individual. Janie Weeks is an executive assistant. Is that what she's doing?
She's just
assistant. Yeah. So she was there as well, and they just did an amazing presentation. I learned things that either I had forgotten about or I wasn't aware of, and I found it very interesting with some of the statistics and information that they provided. So I really encourage them to maybe at their next AGM or something do a public presentation. And then also I briefly attended the garbage collection and library expansion public consultation and open house, and like Councillor Blanchette, very disappointed with the poor attendance of the public to this open house. You know, it was a really great opportunity for people to find out more about the library expansion and about the garbage collection, have questions answered one-on-one, and have the opportunity to provide input and feedback. And do they show up? No. So it's a little disheartening, but you know what? We tried, and maybe we'll try again with something else. Councillor Blanchette's shaking her head no, but you know, staff worked very hard getting their information together, and you know, it's showing that there are people that worked hard, put in 4 hours of their time to be there to provide answers, to get input and feedback, and people chose not to come. so.
You guys are throwing down the challenge.
Well,
Hey, fair is fair.
fair is fair.
fair.
We get challenged here quite often, so you know what? We're putting out the challenge too.
Right on.
And that's all for me.
Right on. Well, it's really nice to see vigorous defense of the work that we're doing here, because there's no reason to be shy about it. And we do good work in good faith, and so we should be proud of that. And the reason we have public input is to get, if something's wrong, is to figure it out. I'll give my report as briefly as possible. Shortly after the last council meeting, I went up to Prince George for the regional district meeting there, which went well. Again, I'll just say it again. It's good to keep it out there. Is that one of the considerations that I'm on a select committee regarding, as well as Yanciw's ex officio on curbside recycling, and that one is kind of a really interesting thing. So we're trying to see what that is and figure out whether Valemount could do something like that. And it's interesting, and there is a bit of a time crunch on it, so we're just putting that out there again. You'll see some materials, council, you'll see some materials, and then probably the public will at some point, unless it's a total washout, the public will end up seeing something. Ultimately, the public will end up seeing something about curbside recycling because legislative changes are coming, but it's just a matter of what is the shape of the municipality's involvement in that? Are we a part of that or not? So. That's really about as much as I know. I've been to 2 very long meetings, and there's a lot up in the air. I'm a part of Councillor Bullock's box program. It's been very good, and I've returned both my boxes so far on time. I've taken a tour of Mike Lewis's facility and see it coming along. He doesn't have time to talk to me anymore, which is very cool, but it's nice to see that shaping up. This morning I had a conversation with Peter from Treasures of the Forest. I'm not going to try to say his name, but Peter has been doing a business for a number of years where he mills old wood into new things, and it's discovered wood, and so it's stuff that's not going to be used. It's not logged, and so it's just a totally different take on woodworking and stuff. And it's very high-end stuff that he does. I guess most of the things that he does is really big board tables and stuff like that. So neat. We'll have to watch for his products and see after he gets set up here. But I understand he's trying to set up in Cedar Side, which is hopefully a good fit for him. And I just wanted to.
Website too.
Yeah, fantastic website. Neat to see.
And they're chamber members as well, I believe, haven't they?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's great. So, anyways, it's good as more people that know about him, the better. Because that's potentially 4 or 5 jobs, and he'd be, Valemount's second biggest mill. Anyways, alas, I just want to comment on an article about affordable housing, kind of the taboo around trailer parks, and it sort of questioned where we're going with affordable housing in Valemount, and it sort of brought in the idea of the Valemount Glacier destinations. I thought that was a really good editorial. It raised lots of questions, and I just want to say from my perspective, one of the things asked was the resort brings questions around employee housing, but it's not. We're not limited. Like that's not my concern. My concern is not just employee housing. Ultimately, the employer will find a way to have employees. It is good to have that nailed down because other communities suffer under having not good employee housing. But there is this whole broader question of how do you maintain an affordable housing stock in Valemount so families can move here and it's not just a rich person's getaway, and an average house costs so much so you're not able to move in, but also have a thriving. Yeah. So I just want to say is that those considerations are also front and center in certainly my considerations around the resort, and I think council's too. I was off on a 2-week vacation, well, not 2 weeks, a week and a half. My little sister got married and I was in Edmonton. I was the MC. It was very fun. And congratulations to her. And I also went on a week-long trip a 5-day trip to Myrtle Lake, which is Valemount's best kept secret. It's like a stone's throw from here. It is so gorgeous. Oh my Lord. So we had the best weather. We had one stormy afternoon and the rest was brilliant, you know. We didn't go in when the forecast was bad. I mean, who would do that? Right? Like, who would do that? Yeah.
We're not gonna ask.
So just let that hang there. One of the considerations I had when we were pulling into the bay there, God, it's beautiful, but one of the things I was thinking about was, I feel like, okay, and this sort of relates to the employee housing thing, is there's some things that we talk about publicly, but we don't really nail down exactly what we're talking about, what we mean. And I think, and it was a little bit exacerbated by an article in the Prince George Citizen recently, where it was talking about what is Valemount's future. And one of the people interviewed said, like, our future is not forestry, our future is tourism. And I was also in the same article, and for most of the article we said the same thing, but in that point, I want to say differently. The community forest has been working really hard to keep forestry as a big part of this thing. And it's been our council, we're totally in support of forestry. This is a forest town. You may notice it's surrounded by forest. We are going to have forestry in the future. And the challenge for us is to have as many good paying jobs in secondary manufacturing as possible. And so it's just that idea of, because we're courting maybe what could be British Columbia's best new resort in this decade, doesn't mean that we give up our aspirations to be the best. And I think in forestry, and I think the community forest has survived with their minimal cut till now. What do they have, like 35,000 cubic meters? They've survived and prospered, made their way through the mountain pine beetle epidemic, and are working on newer and bigger things. And I mean, I just want to say, for those people that feel like we're going down a path of tourism and sidelining those other industries, no way, absolutely not. It is our full intention to bring as much employment and whatever. And what I would really like to see is a community that is thriving with both those things. And just adding one more thing, alternative energy. I would love for this community to make an investment and be a stakeholder in alternative energy, specifically geothermal power. And I'd love for Valemount to be the first jurisdiction in Canada to be producing electricity. And, you know, like these are the kind of hopes and dreams of council, I think. These are things, they're in our strategic plan. So it's important that we communicate them and just say, just because we have so much in the press about the Valemount Glacier destinations, we don't forget about these other things that we're working very hard, and staff is working, and community forest is working to do these things. That concludes my report. Thank you.
What day is it?
Yeah. Okay. No new business. List of outstanding council resolutions just for acceptance. Yeah, Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, all in favor of that. Calendar of events is there for your viewing pleasure. Councillor Salt, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor. We'll move to the public comment session. I'm just picking up this set of rules that we have. Is anybody going to speak in public comment? There's very few people here.
I'd like to say something.
Okay, well, let me just tell you about how that's done.
Thank you.
The questions are limited to 2 minutes each. They should be regarding items on the agenda, not just anything you choose. They should be topics that are not normally dealt with by the village staff as a matter of routine, like where is the tourism info center? It's upstairs. Individuals must state their name and address for identification purposes. Questions shall name and address, okay? You address your questions to me, it just keeps things manageable. And debates with individual council members or staff are not allowed. No commitments shall be made by council in replying to a question. Matters which may require action of council are referred to a future meeting. So we're not going to rule on anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my name is Thomas Roeder. I live at 16 Arcadian Circle, Toronto, Ontario, MAW219, or 1080 Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
Great. I just have a comment, not a question, which was about the sensible Policing Act, Councillor Latimer thought suggested that it'd be good to consult our CMP, which I think is a good point. But I think it'd be good to consult sort of legal sociologists or something too, people who are experts with how laws actually operate in society, as opposed to just the enforcement aspect of it.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody want to debate him? Because he can't. Okay, good. All right. Any other public comments? We just go by one. I'll call you out name by name if you want. Okay, fair enough. So we'll receive public comments. Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, all in favor of receipt? And then we'll motion to proceed in camera. Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer.